following our clubs in Europe on a Scottish Football Zone special.
Good evening, welcome to the Scottish Football Zone, our special, as it says, another big night for our clubs in Europe, and it's an early kickoff for us tonight, and it's an early kick because Celtic are kicking off at 6:15 against Feyenoord. Rangers are playing later on, so is Aberdeen, but first of all, before we kick off and talk about the game in more detail, Reagan has got tonight's Celtic team.
Yeah, I have, Michael. It's great to be on again. Thanks for having me again, Michael. I'll just get it for you in a second. Michael, you doing well tonight?
Yeah, it should be a good night. But of all these nights, when we do the shows, I'm hoping that the Scottish clubs do well, because we seem to do a show of the week, Reagan, and it's disappointment. So hopefully hopefully in for a good, hopefully positive in for a good night. What about you?
Yeah, I think Celtic have got a very good chance tonight. What I do like is, I do like the final team. I'll just run you through the Celtic squad that I've got, Michael. It's Michael, Donovan, Trusty, Scales, Tierney, McGregor, Arna Engels, Rio Hatate, Yang, McCowan, and Maeda. What do you make of that, Michael?
Yes, that's right. Did you say McCowan there?
Yeah, I did say McCowan. Yep.
Yeah. See, I'm a big Scottish football fan, but I'm a big Luke McCowan fan as well. And I think Celtic fans and yourself will be happy that he's starting tonight.
Yeah, Michael, you know me, I'm neutral anyway, but I am looking forward to this match about Celtic tonight. I'll just run through the team again. Michael, Donovan, Trusty, Scales, Tierney, McGregor, Engels, Rio Hatate, Yang, Luke McCowan, as Michael said a minute ago, and Dyson Maeda. The Celtic bench is Sinisalo, Doolan, Nigrin, Babalaquisha. Yeah, that goes back, Michael.
Oh, wow,
That's a big boost for Celtic. The other substitutes are Toreke, Bernardo, Dane Murray, Ralston, Hale, and Odegosho.
It's quite weird because a few years ago we used to say the Celtic bench was quite strong, but when you read that bench out to me, it's pretty the opposite. Quite full of young boys, you know.
Yeah, I think Celtic have got a squad there, Michael, that it's not the best squad, but they'll be hoping that they can get a response from the players.
Yeah, and also as well that if they pick up anything tonight, they've got a slim outside chance of Skull qualifying, but they need to pick up 3 points tonight.
Yeah, I think even a point Michael would do, because I think going into the matches against Roma as well, I think that'll be a difficult one. I don't see Celtic qualifying overall. So sorry to the Celtic fans there, but I think Celtic will give this a right go tonight. But I think Feyenoord and Celtic, Michael, these are two teams that you sort of associate with Champions League football. So it probably just shows you where the two clubs have fallen to in terms of the rankings of both clubs, Michael.
Yeah, of course, we are on just before kickoff, so get your comments coming in, and we will build up to the later games as well at 8:00 kickoff as Rangers again, Rangers at Ibrox in Aberdeen in the northeast. Against Aberdeen, and I would hate to be up in Aberdeen tonight because it's a nice part of the world, Reagan, but it's going to be freezing up there. But yeah, I mean, so disappointment for Celtic on Saturday against St Mirren. St Mirren would be a bit hard done by not getting all 3 points out of the game. But a wonder strike with Carl McGregor. But I mean, if you listen to Martin O'Neill's press yesterday, that he was saying that we weren't Celtic weren't up to the standard, but all important thing is getting 3 points and move on, and then also what he said was, but winning games breeds confidence.
Yeah, Michael, what I would say is Celtic were a good old Scottish saying. Celtic were rank rotten on Saturday. They were rank rotten.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it, Michael, because I don't think Celtic are a very good squad at the moment. I think there's flaws in the squad for me, Michael, and I think the word I would use is rank rotten. But Michael, I'm going to ask you a question then. From this sort of starting 11, who do you see being the kind of matchmaker for Celtic to get that victory? Because you look at that squad and you go, I don't really fancy Yang to really come up with a moment. Hopefully, people are the Engels and Rio Hatate as well. But I don't know about you, Michael, but it's not really a Celtic squad that's really up to standard, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean it's right bizarre to think Reagan, because the last time Martin O'Neill was in charge of a Celtic team, they got to a UEFA Cup final, and they had high profile players like Chris Sutton, John Hartson, Digger Gack. You can go on and on and on, but this team is I'm trying to be nice, but it's like the opposite from there, because, like,
Yeah.
as you say, there's nobody actually coming to the fore and winning, scoring big games and big goals in big games. I think that Conor McGregor, I think that he's the only kind of big name. Well, not big name because they're all big names, but like.
I think Maeda. I think Maeda. If Maeda was in the forum that Maeda was in, let's say like 12 months ago or even 6 months ago, then you would kind of back him. But I don't really think Maeda's in the sort of forum that you would think, Michael, that Celtic can really go, yeah, we can definitely trust this guy to do well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think as well that but before we talk more about the game, it's Flynn and Mr. Ethan Barlow. I think the last time me and you were on the show, you were going to a pub, so I'm hoping you've not been at the pub for 2 weeks. Or maybe you have. I don't know. How are you?
Maybe you're just enjoying Scotland qualifying for World Cup. Everybody's entitled to do that, Michael.
Oh, have we qualified? Yeah.
Yeah, we have, and I enjoyed it at the time. But yeah, back to domestic action over the weekend there, and now back to European football, which has been a bit doom and gloom for the Scottish sides this season. But hopefully it can change. There's still room for all three teams to make a fighting chance. I'd say Aberdeen and Rangers less so with how many points they've got so far, but Aberdeen probably get their most realistic chance at a win in the Conference League tonight with how difficult the fixture run is. Celtic playing against a Feyenoord team also struggling domestically in their own right, and Rangers at home in Europa League, they've always probably got a chance, and they've got a good record against Braga as well. So hopefully a good night, but I don't know if we've had any good nights in European football this season, certainly when we've got to the league phase.
I don't know if we've heard of Team Ethan, but Reagan's got the team. If you want to recap on the Celtic team, Reagan.
Yeah, it's Michael Donovan, Trusty Scales, Tierney McGregor, Anna Engels, Yang, Maeda, and Luke McCowan. The Celtic bench is Nygren, Balakwisha, Iheanacho, Tenecti, Johnny Kenny, Bernardo, Dane Murray, Tony Ralston, Hale, and Anaguso.
Yeah, I did see the team, and it doesn't look the strongest Celtic side, which may be a suggestion that maybe they're writing off this Europa League campaign, but at the end of the day, what is the strongest Celtic side at the minute? Because despite getting that late win at St Mirren Park in the weekend with the Callum McGregor goal, they played absolutely terribly and were really lucky to come away with 3 points. So you can understand why Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney have maybe shuffled the pack in what looks like one of their final games in charge before Wilfred Nancy comes in to be the new head coach, because it certainly looks like that's going to be the case, and whether he'll be able to rescue the Europa League campaign's another question. Celtic probably need 6 points from their last 4 games, so certainly doable, but the fixtures are difficult for their play.
Is there still 4 games to go? I mean, I'm getting bored of this Europa League, to be honest with you, Ethan.
Yeah, halfway there. We've got 2 games before Christmas and then 2 games in January. So, yeah, still a lot to be played in this competition. And
I think the Champions League format is good, even, but I'm just getting bored of this Europa League format. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, obviously it's the same sort of format and fundamentally, and when there's a lot of teams competing, it's interesting. But
I think it's more to do with because Celtic and Rangers are both rank rotten, as I said earlier.
Yeah, that is it. And as I said, it looks like, well, depending on results the teams get tonight, 10 points looks like what you need to get into the top 24. If Rangers fail to get anything tonight against Braga, they won't be able to get 10 points because obviously they're on 0 at the moment, only 3 games left. Aberdeen, they've had a really tough time of it with the teams they've been drawn against, so tonight's a real opportunity to get 3 points on the board to add to the point they've already got. And I think, 8 points or 6 points maybe should be enough in the Conference League because it's only 6 games you play rather than 8. So a win tonight for Aberdeen would be massive. Celtic still got a really good chance, but the level of opponents they've got, Feyenoord, I know they've struggled recently, lost 4 of their last 5. I don't know if any of you seen their defeat of the weekend to NEC Nijmegen, but it was a 4-2 defeat and one of their players scored a late goal from the halfway line area, which was very similar to Kenny McLean's goal in the situation and the scenario of the game. But Robin van Persie, the Feyenoord coach, is under a bit of pressure because obviously Feyenoord expect to be winning the Eredivisie. They haven't done in the last
I was doing a bit of research. I was doing a bit of research for the show, Ethan, and I did see that his boy plays at Feyenoord as well.
Does he? I didn't see that, but
yeah, his boy plays at Feyenoord too.
Is he playing tonight? No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
He's not in the starting 11. Oh yeah, he's on the bench. 19-year-old.
I get a wee moment from Van Persie Junior. Then we would call him.
Yeah, I don't think he's actually made that. Unless this is wrong, it doesn't seem like he's made a senior appearance yet. So it could be the opportunity tonight for him to make his debut under his dad. Obviously, is the manager, but yeah, they've been struggling recently. They're 6 points off the top in the Eredivisie. They're ahead of Ajax, who have been struggling even more in the Champions League. If you've noticed, the only team in the competition with 0 points. Feyenoord have got 3, I believe, in the Europa League, so less than Celtic. So it's 2 teams that are, you would say, maybe fallen giants in a European sense with how they're playing this season compared to obviously the 1970 European Cup where they were both finalists. Obviously Feyenoord come out on top, and yeah, they'll both be looking for results tonight to really kickstart their European campaigns. Whether Celtic can go over there with a European record and get a result is another question, because Feyenoord have obviously still got quality players. They had a massive turnover in the summer. They sold some key players and they did replace them. Maybe unlike Celtic, it just hasn't really worked out that way so far, and it's been maybe your unlikely heroes that you already had at the club. Ayase Ueda, the Japanese striker, has scored 13 goals in 13 league games this season, so he's one to watch out for. And I'd say Sam Stein is maybe another one who was one of the best players in the Eredivisie last season for 20 now at Feyenoord. So they have got some quality across that squad, and it'll be a difficult game for Celtic to go over then and and you get something. But with both teams how both teams have been playing on a domestic and European front, there's definitely a chance for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually so looking forward to this match tonight because it'll tell us where Celtic are. But as I said to you earlier, Ethan, Celtic and Feyenoord are kind of sort of they're supposed to be in the Champions League. Both of these clubs.
Yeah, no, definitely. They were both in the Champions League last season, of course, and yeah, that's where they expect to be. Feyenoord, I believe, dropped out in qualifying to Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce before obviously he moved to Benfica. But yeah, they had a massive turnover of players in the window as well. They sold David Hanko to Atletico Madrid, Igor Pakshal to Marseille, and they replaced them with players like Stein, as I said. So, yeah, they're a team that is maybe financially a little bit higher in the food chain than Celtic, but not much in it at all. And two teams that should be in the Champions League and aim to win the league every season. I'd say Feyenoord probably have more competition in that with PSV Eindhoven and Ajax. I'd say PSV obviously more recently than Celtic have had in the Scottish Premiership, but that may change this season as obviously it's very, very tight in the top six at the minute. Even the likes of Falkirk, Motherwell and Hibs could make a run at it with how tight it is by Scottish usual standards. So, no, it's a big game for Celtic tonight, and hopefully they can bring some positivity to start the night, and it can kick on to the 8 o'clock kickoffs, and we can have a really good night to shout about for Scottish sides in European football, which hasn't been the case for any match day so far this season.
Yep, and a man that's been at some European matches over the past few years with his bowling with St Mirren. Robbie, it's great to have you on, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Aye, doing well, Robbie. Aye, doing good. Aye. Been very busy the last couple of days, and then just chilling back here with you guys. Aye.
I'm excited for the games tonight. It's a pretty interesting card.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
on you go, Regan.
sorry, Michael. No, on you go.
No, I was speaking to Alex early on as well. No, Alex, you're Robbie, aren't you? Yeah. I was speaking to you a bit before this morning, and I was saying about Saturday night. You must have been gutted because I mean, I know that you were speaking to a lot of Celtic fans after the game on Saturday, and the Celtic fans were saying, well, you should get a point. I would go maybe one step further than that, Robin, said that you should have won the game.
No, I mean, I'm in a panel with Celtic fans, so I mean, do you guys agree? How did you assess Saturday? Because I don't think I've spoken to anybody else about it. I thought for all the ball we had during the game, I thought we probably should have created a lot more, which is weird to say when you're playing Celtic because you don't expect to get a lot of time against them, but I did think that's probably the worst you're probably going to see Celtic play a lot of this season. I don't think you'll see a much worse performance than that. And
Aye.
I thought we had a real time.
Robbie, I've not spoken to you in a while, right? But I want to get your thoughts on this. The St Mirren goal that get disallowed. Because for me, Celtic were very, very fortunate. That should have been a goal for me.
Aye, I mean, I'd be inclined to agree. Chris Boyd is saying that it shouldn't have been a goal. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen that happen, but no, I don't know. It's just one of the goals where I can see why they've chopped it off. You know, I think that Meneman does have intent to go for the ball. Did they actually get it on it? No, that I've not seen an angle of him getting any contact on the ball of the player. So unless somebody has found, you know, a bit of footage that maybe shows him touching scales of the football, then for me it should never have been chopped off. But look, that's just a bit of luck that Celtic get in the game, and let's be honest, for all the time we had in the ball and for all that I thought we actually played really positive, we didn't create near enough to kill Celtic off. So that's probably my main disappointment taking away for the game.
Yeah, I think St Mirren can feel really hard done by with the outcome of the game. As I said, I think it easily St Mirren deserved a point, if not winning the game. The first half, St Mirren were the better team without any doubt. I think Celtic were better in the second half without really being good. They kept the ball a bit better without really threatening Shamal George's goal. And then for the disallowed goal, as you said, I think it's Celtic get fortunate. I think once they give it offside at the time, though, they're not going to go back on it because you can't really, once you've said that he's offside and he's interfering with play, you can't really prove that he's not interfering with play. And maybe if they hadn't given it at the time as offside, then they would have given the goal. But I can kind of understand where the decisions came from, although I don't know what Liam Scales is doing. But yes, St Mirren get fortunate, and then obviously Callum McGregor does what he has done already this season, and what he done at Hampden against Rangers, and wins the game for Celtic. So massive 3 points for Celtic, and it felt like a really big swing with obviously Hearts' defeat the next day. So yeah, Celtic will carry the confidence of that into this game, but I don't have much confidence in Celtic going over to Rotterdam and getting a positive result just based on how they've played in Europe this season, how they've played in general this season, and the players they have. I remember the last time they went over there was in the Champions League, if you remember, and it was an absolute shambolic night for Celtic. It was 2-0 Feyenoord, I believe, and Celtic finished with 9 men. Gustav Lagerbielke and Odin Thiago Holmes sent off, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember the game.
I mean, into getting there up until that point, I don't know if you remember the game, guys, but Celtic was a better team.
Yeah, and then it was a free kick from I think it was Calvin Stein. So it was linked with Celtic in the summer. Actually, it was a free kick that I think Joe Hart should have done a lot better with. And then I can't remember. I think it might have been Johan Bach that scored the second goal. Celtic won the reverse tie 3-2, if you remember, at Celtic Park in a meaningless game. Gustav Lagerbielke scored. Who's obviously faced Celtic already this season, and they'll face Rangers tonight with Sporting Braga. So yeah, but I don't. Celtic's away European record is awful, and I don't really expect that to change tonight.
I'm sure you can.
Sorry, I'm just going to make a joke there and say that it could be Rotterdam or anywhere, but Celtic still want to win.
Yeah, beautiful save. Yeah, I was going to make that joke as well, Regan, about beautiful save and as well or else. Yeah, but the likes of like going back to the Celtic game tonight, even like Martin and Neil was talking yesterday about the game, and he was saying that, you know, the performance wasn't up to the level that we are expecting on Saturday against St Mirren. But the bottom line is we won the game. And I think from the turmoil that's went on at Celtic this year between, you know, I know it's pantomime season, but Celtic to write their own pantomime this season between Brendan Rodgers and the board as well. But I mean, Martin O'Neill's come in and he's played a different style of football. And okay, it's not brilliant, but at least the team's still winning games, and that's going to lead confidence. But tonight's game is going to be a totally different game, especially not even at final, but away from home as well.
Yeah, it will be, and it'll be I know that a lot of the stadium is empty. I believe Feyenoord get handed a bit of a stadium ban, or one of the stands was banned for, I think it was pyros or flares that they were using in one of the other European games. So that'll maybe help Celtic, but yeah, I just can't see them going there and getting a positive result. No, I can see them maybe getting a draw, but I think Celtic need more than a draw with how many points they've got and the opponents coming up. They've obviously got Roma at home, they've got Bologna away, and the other team that they're playing is escaping me at the minute in January. But yeah, they've got a really tough time of it with the remaining fixtures. But Feyenoord have been struggling as well. I think that's the only thing you can say, and that Celtic can go there with the confidence of that. And yeah, Martin O'Neill's been pulling the results out domestically so far. He's obviously won every game, barring that result away to Midtjylland. And I think that'll continue tonight. I think it'll be difficult to go over there and get a win, but I think he'll be overall impressed with his time as his second stint as Celtic manager. And if he gets a win at the weekend as well, I think it'll be a good spell for him, and the Celtic fans and the Celtic board and himself probably personally will be happy before Wilfred Nancy comes in and really, well, we don't know what he's going to do with the team. His style of play seems quite extravagant and far from what Celtic have been playing this season. So it'll be interesting to obviously see how quickly he can implement that.
I've not heard your thoughts on it yet, Ethan, but are you excited about it? Because I'm not, to be honest with you.
I think it's an exciting appointment. I think it's somebody who's obviously not proven it. European football, which is a risk, and of course it's a risk. You need to take a risk sometimes. And I always say this: every managerial appointment is going to be a risk. Ange Postecoglou was a risk, and of course he had more experience, and he had more trophies won and stuff like that. But Wilfred Nancy, he's a very highly rated coach in the MLS. He obviously won the championship in 2022, I believe it was, with Columbus Crew, and he's qualified he's qualified for the MLS playoffs in 5 of his 6 seasons, or 4 of his 5 seasons, or something like that. So he's a good coach, and he's going to bring fresh ideas. Whether it'll work is another question.
And I think I heard they got to the American version of the Champions League final. Is that right?
Yeah, the League's Cup. I think he won the League's Cup as well, and maybe you're right. So he's obviously coming in with reputation from the MLS, but European football is completely different, as we know.
The only thing that sort of worries me as well, sorry, Michael, is he finished seventh in the league last year. That's a big,
I think for me, and I'll get Robbie's take on in a minute, but like, every manager's a risk. Like, even, if St Mirren got a new manager tomorrow, where Robbie's going like that, no, that's never going to happen, right? But the thing is, like, it's always a risk, but you've always got to back him. I mean, the point Ethan makes is a good one, because Postecoglou, right? Nobody heard of him, and I think it was Talk Sport, Aaron Brazil couldn't pronounce his name and stuff like that. And look what happened like 2 years later. Okay, they're still early, but like he got the last laugh about winning cups as well. And it doesn't matter. I think like we live in a football world now where if he's not if he's not a big name in football, he must be hopeless. But I mean, back to Postecoglou, and then obviously he went down to Tottenham, and I got a disaster of a season, Reagan, but he still won a European trophy, and they still get the sack. So you can't win. So I think for football fans in general, like Ethan and Reagan and all the rest of the Celtic fans, they should just back him and see what happens,
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And yeah, I think sometimes managerial appointments just don't work. And you see Ange Postecoglou at both Spurs, despite winning the first trophy and over a decade, and Nottingham Forest as well, not working. I seen he was there was even rumours that the Liverpool hierarchy were really big fans of him if they were going to move on Arne Slot, with how Liverpool's recent performances have been. And yeah, I would agree with the point Alex made as well. The MLS is crazy, and I think the main thing in the MLS is just getting to the playoffs, because the league finish doesn't really matter. It's more about how well you do in the playoffs, and I believe they get knocked out in the first or second round this year, because I've seen them complaining about it, because in the MLS they have a 3-game format for each round, and they lost the first and third game despite winning the second game 4 or 5-0, I think it was. They went out, and he was making the point that it's a stupid concept because they won more on aggregate score, but because I think it was Cincinnati they played had won more games, they went through. And that's obviously the Americans, they like to have their own spin on stuff, and fair enough, but he's going to need to adapt to the league is very important here, and there's no sort of playoff or second chance. That'll be something that I'm sure he's made well aware of, if he's not already aware. And I think another thing is that's really interesting and a big positive for Celtic is that he managed Alistair Johnston at Montreal before he obviously came over to Celtic, and I think Alistair Johnston will be able to It's I'd imagine one of the big members in that dressing room. He'll be able to feed on to his teammates about what the guy's about and how good a manager he is. And I think that's always a good start when you come into a club and you know one of the players and one of the key members of the dressing room.
Robbie,
Sorry.
what's your take on Wilfried Nancy?
It's an exciting appointment from an outsider's perspective. You always want some freshness into the league. Celtic fans, I've seen some complain that when certain names are getting flung about like Postecoglou, that it's almost a backward step. It's just bringing the same old names up. But then when a new name comes up like Wilfried Nancy, it's that's too much of a gamble. You don't want to take a big risk on them. So you need to pick one or the other. And they've obviously gone for interesting written. As an outsider looking in, you're excited to see a new boss come into Scottish football. You want a new style of play all the time. It's been refreshing to see Danny Rose, Rangers, albeit, he's nowhere near the finished article, not even barely getting started, to be honest. So we're still to see a lot for all. But, bringing in a guy like Wilfried Nancy that, all right, he's not exactly had the big experience in any, top league, top European league anyway. He can bring a fresh set of perspective to Scottish football, and that's always exciting me. We're speaking of the game tonight. I can already sort of envision what we're going to be seeing for Celtic tonight. If this is Nancy getting into the European game, I'd be quite interested to see what his approach is going to be. Is he going to be a defensive-minded coach? Is he going to try and take the game to them? That's a team that have won 1, lost 4 out of the last 5 games, so they're not exactly in good form. There's a good chance there for Celtic, but Personally, I'm excited to see what Nancy does. I hope on the 14th of December it doesn't work. I hope so. Obviously, coming from my point of view, but I'm always interested in different sort of coaches and styles and all that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting appointment.
Sorry, Ethan.
No, I was just going to make the quick point that he's got a really big set of games coming up. I think he's rumoured his first game is to be the Wednesday, 3rd of December home league game against Dundee, which, is probably maybe one of the easiest games you could ask for on paper in the league. No disrespect to Stephen Bresley or Dundee. But then after that, he's got Hearts at home, Roma at home, and then St Mirren in the League Cup final, obviously, in the space of a week. So that's 3 massive games that he needs to, if he wants to implement his style, then he'll need to do it in the first game against Dundee, and then he'll need to try and get the players to buy into it and carry it into the next 3 games, which is obviously very risky with the magnitude of the games. You could have not a title deciding game, but a game that decides who sits at the top of the table or who has the advantage in the league table. Then you could have a game that Celtic's European fate lies into, whether they'll make it out of the league phase. And then you've obviously got a cup at stake. So there's 3 massive games after the Dundee game. And it'll be interesting to see whether he goes for a sort of slow approach, keeps the same sort of style that obviously Brendan Rodgers kind of finished with, because I think that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing slight tweaks from Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney, but the fundamentals are obviously still the same. So when is he really going to switch to his style, which it looks like it's going to be a 3 at the back? So there's going to be massive changes at Celtic, and when he decides to implement them will be a massive talking point, especially with the games that are coming up for Celtic.
Do you think as well that, guys, I've got a funny, sneaky suspicion that he'll keep Sean Maloney on? Because I don't know, when Postecoglou came, he came himself and John Kennedy was there. So do you think it'll be the same position as of Martin O'Neill will go, but Sean Maloney will stay? Ethan?
Yeah, I think he will. That's certainly the talk is that he's going to keep Sean Maloney around as a coach, and I believe he's he's a sort of assistant, Kwame Ampadu, who's worked with him, and that's obviously his guy that he wants to bring in. But he probably wants, and I believe Danny Rowe was actually the same at Rangers. He wanted someone in who was an ex-Rangers player, because obviously when you're a Frenchman who's only managed in the MLS, then it's always nice to have someone in the backroom staff who grew up as a Celtic player and has obviously been a coach at the club. That's a really great addition to have to your your backroom staff, and I could see that being the case.
I mean, we just have to wait and see.
No, I was just going to say, I think it would be smart for Nancy to, get somebody that knows this game. It can be tough trying to step out of this league. It's not an easy league to adapt to. And just to answer, I think, I can't remember if it was you or Ethan that asked, but I think it was Ethan. If you're going to implement your back three style, you need to get them in the door against Dundee and try that game. Like, I don't think you can afford to take big risks against Hearts, Roma, or us in the final. He will know that final is probably the big game for him. It's kicking off his Celtic career. He knows he can get the fans entirely on his side if he wins that final in the full team. So, if you're playing Dundee, and as you say, even no disrespect to them, but you'd like to think he's going to try experimenting in that game, because that should be a routine 3 points for Celtic.
Yeah, and I think we all look at it for the maybe not for the Hearts. Well, yeah, for the Hearts game and for the St Mirren game, Celtic are financially wise, how much they pay for their players, how much they pay their players. It should be that whatever system he tries to implement, and however long he's been trying to implement it into the players, they should be able to adapt and still have enough to beat Hearts and St Mirren. And I don't think that's disrespectful to say. These are players that Celtic have spent. You've got a player like Mikael Ange-Balikwisha, who's barely had a sniff, who they spent half of £10 million on. Celtic should be able to still cope with that. But that's easier said than done, especially with how Hearts have played this season. Obviously beat Celtic in the reverse fixture. How St Mirren have played against Celtic recently, been very unlucky not to win any of the last 3 games. They've been so tight and they've been so tough on St Mirren. And then obviously Roma's the other game, which I think will sort of take care of itself. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how Nancy starts and, well, how Martin O'Neill ends, because it's still a massive night for Celtic and a real opportunity to maybe kickstart their European campaign. And as I said, hopefully Rangers and Aberdeen can do the same.
Let's move on to talk about Rangers and Aberdeen tonight. 8 o'clock kickoff. Rangers are playing Braga at Ibrox, and it's similar to Celtic because Rangers aren't playing well, but they're still getting victories, Robbie.
Albeit the night's a long shot if they want to get the rest of the Europa League's a long shot if they want to try and have any shot of getting through, which I don't even know if it is possible. I'd assume it is by a really, really big long shot, but I think Danny Rowe will probably be happy that the fact he's turned the league position are in, and the league form. I think that's all Rangers fans could ask for. He's finally getting wins in the league, which was more than Martin done, so he'll be happy with that. But it's very clear and obvious, as you said there, Michael, that there is a lot of work needing done at Rangers still. But I think one thing that might be crucial tonight, and obviously we don't know the starting 11 yet, but Emmanuel Fernandez after the weekend, and set pieces in general for Rangers must be getting improved a lot. They clearly worked on them. The Livingston game, it proved effective. Only took them 9 minutes to score. Obviously, things happened in that game, which it could have been a different outcome. And we could have been in this game going, Braga will be coming here and think they can win. And I still think they will. But this is one of these games where you just never know how it's going to go. Rangers could show up on a European night at Ibrox and get a win, and Danny Rowe's really sort of turn that around at that point, or Braga could come out, kill them half early, and you're looking at another horrible night in Europe. But I think no matter what happens, Rangers can probably take a lot of positives for Rowe's reign so far. And obviously, I don't know too much about Braga. I know Lagerbielke's over there, which has got 1-0 Lagerbielke written all in it, by the way. But see, they will. I think they'll fancy their chances just as much as Rangers will.
By the way, how many times does that happen, guys, right? Where an opposition player comes back to Ibrox or Parkhead and scores a winning goal? That's always on the cards, that one. And Robbie, see if he's a sub and he comes on and score a winning goal, you're like a genius.
Well, he scored in the most recent game for Braga on the 44th minute, so he's getting goals in there. So you never know.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
know.
forgot. I forgot. Sorry, I was muted there. I forgot the. I was at the other time Braga came to Glasgow this season, obviously to face Celtic, and they won 2-0 and were very convincing on the night. And I forgot he was actually playing, and that's not something you would have really said about him at Celtic. Usually he was involved in making errors and stuff like that, but he looked really solid. And obviously we talk about managers, and sometimes it doesn't work at different teams and whatever. It's the same for players. Sometimes it's just the environment, and he's obviously went to Braga and done really well there. And I think he's been starting most of the games, so he's obviously a solid player that can compete at this level.
Obviously, as well, with you guys, it'll be a sort of different Ibrox tonight. Obviously, with the announcement of farewell and stuff leaving the club, you'd imagine the fans will be a lot more positive, a lot more inclined to back the players tonight and actually get behind the team instead of, sending out potential messages that we, have been doing for weeks. So I think overall, what you'll find at Ibrox tonight is it's probably going to be a lot more a positive place as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, Robbie, and that's been the case at Ibrox for a while. That obviously, I think it was at the last European game as well. They obviously still expressing their discontent for Farewell and Stewart. Obviously, they've got their wish now that they've gone. So yeah, that'll naturally make them more positive about tonight going into the ground, and they can focus on backing the players. Obviously, they already do, but there'll be more emphasis on that. And yeah, Braga are a team that have done well in the Europa League last time I checked so far this season, so they'll be a tough team for Rangers to beat. But if they play how they have done under Danny Rowe, which has been keeping it tight at the back, making yourself difficult to beat for most part, I'm thinking of the game at Easter Road especially, and it hasn't been pretty for Rangers under Danny Rowe. Let's not get away from that, but he's came in and he started getting them results, especially in the league, which is what they've needed. And then when he gets backed in January and he gets fresh investment and recruits in, he can maybe really build a team that's his style, and he can express his managerial flair, so to say, and really get Rangers challenging for a title, because they're still, I think, well in with a shout, with especially with Hearts dropping points recently, and for a Scottish Cup, of course, as well.
Yeah, so that's the game at Ibrox tonight. Let's speak about Aberdeen. I've been dying to say this name all day. I think this is my favourite name, guys, in the whole wide world. The whole wide world. European football. Noah. And I don't know if you remember a band called Noah and the Whale. But anyway, everybody's looking at me funny, but yeah, so that means they don't know it. So I am the oldest guy here. Yes, I know that. So Noah against Aberdeen tomorrow night, tonight, 8:00 kickoff, and this is actually the first visit to Scotland, and it'll be a cold visit up there tonight, Robbie, up in Aberdeen.
Aye, this is my preferred game of choice tonight. Actually, I'm really excited to sit down and watch this. I think Aberdeen and Tulane have completely turned their fortunes around now. I wasn't so much impressed with them against Hearts. I don't think that's the word I'd use. I think they defended well enough, and I think they got their chance and took it. But yeah, I think you could tell there was still a bit of work to be done in the overall Aberdeen team, and look, it will take time. But if they can go and get a 3 points tonight, then it's a massive confidence booster for Tulane, and he's finally probably feeling at a place where he's feeling comfortable. I'm not going to lie to you, I thought after the Hibs game where they get beat 2-1, that was going to be him. Obviously, the Aberdeen backroom team and board fully back him. They trusted him, gave him time, and he's turned it around again. 4 games unbeaten getting into tonight. They've got Livingston away at the weekend as well. So I think they'll be feeling confident they can get something against FC Noah. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about Noah and how they're playing and what they play, but you've got Aberdeen have really fancied themselves in all the home games, so I think they'll fancy themselves again tonight.
Yeah, I would completely agree with Robbie. I think this is, from Aberdeen's fixtures in the Conference League, by far their best chance to get a win at home with Pittodrie behind them. Noah, not a great European powerhouse. I'm just looking there, they were actually founded in 2017, so they're only 8 years old, which is a remarkable achievement for them to even be in European competition. And I suppose that's maybe what the Conference League's all about. They are the Armenian champions from last season, but they're fifth at the moment, 9 points off of the top, although they have got a couple games in hand and most of the teams above them. The only meeting I sort of remember between a Scottish side and an Armenian side was Celtic v Alashkert in the Champions League qualifiers in Brendan Rodgers' first stint. But yeah, it's a good chance for Aberdeen to get 3 points. As Robbie said, they've maybe turned a corner under Jimmy Talib and they're back on a positive run. FC Noah haven't won any of the last 3 games in the Conference League. They have done better than Aberdeen points-wise, but you could also say that they've had slightly easier opposition. So, yeah, if I had to pick a team of the 3, I'd be most confident to get a win tonight. I'd have to say it's Aberdeen with their recent form and the level of opponent they're up against. So, and if they get a win tonight, then, well, currently the top 24 points tally is 3 points, which you'd imagine 3 games in, and then it'll go to 6 games, it'll maybe be 6 points. And if Aberdeen can get a win tonight, then they only need 2 points from their remaining 2 games. And I know they're very difficult fixtures. Strasbourg at home, not very easy. Sparta Prague away, very difficult. So, but you never know. You give yourself a chance, and stranger things have happened. So, massive night for Aberdeen. And hopefully they can get 3 points to kickstart their campaign, because I think they've had a really tough time of it, and with the opposition they've got, so it's nice they've at least got a team that we can all sit here and say that we can back them to beat.
Alashkert, I believe as well. Sorry, Mike, I was just going to say Alashkert, as Ethan mentions, I believe Rangers beat them 1-0 2 legs as well in Europe, I think under Gerrard. So clubs have got a decent record against the Armenian teams, and hopefully Aberdeen can keep up the night as well.
I think what we were saying at the top of the show, guys, about Rolf Nancy and people writing them off before he actually left the airport as well. But Robbie made a good point there about Jimmy Tarlin as well, that he was on a bad run. He won the Scottish Cup, but he's actually turned it round a wee bit, and that's a good example of a club standing by the manager, Reagan. And another example of it would be David Gray at Hibs.
Aye, my God, I've been noticing how you keep mentioning David Gray, because I was the one that kept saying he should have been sacked very early on. But I mean, for me, I think they've done very well to see you, Jimmy, because I think at the end of the day, he delivered them a trophy last year, and then he started well, and then to go in and to beat top of the table Jambos on Sunday, I think it was just brilliant for him to really to go in there and try and steady the ship again. I'm interested, guys, because I put it in the group chat earlier. I see Rangers are looking to approach the Aberdeen CEO about possibly taking over from Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, I did see that, and that would be a really interesting one. And I don't think the Aberdeen fans would be too happy with that. You think back to the Connor Barron situation, Bojan Miovski obviously signing for Rangers via Girona.
Who else? Jack, remember Jack?
Yeah, and it's obviously there's a rivalry between Aberdeen and Rangers, so it is something that the fans are obviously not going to be very happy about, especially when Rangers are taking Aberdeen's best assets away from them. And yeah, but that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out, because it's a massive appointment for Rangers and the 49ers, because obviously they got the 3 appointments if you include the manager and the two members that they dismissed at the start of the week. They need to right those wrongs and pretty quickly.
There you go. So that's your build up for the games tonight. Before we go, guys, we always do this in the show. Don't know why, because we always make a fool of ourselves. Well, So yeah, but I'll make a fool of myself every day. But let's not go there. Yeah. So score predictions. I'll go at the Celtic boys first. Ethan and Reagan. Is it Rotterdam or is it Glasgow tonight? I'm sorry, Feyenoord or Celtic.
I'm going to go Feyenoord 4, Celtic 1.
Talking up Scottish football, that's what we do in the show. Thanks for watching. There's no good going to subscribe to the channel now. Good night. Okay. Ethan, can you follow that one up?
Yeah, Rotterdam or Glasgow. I'm gonna opt for the fence. I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw.
Well,
Like
you're
two
going for
poor
Here
teams,
we go. You can't stick his neck on the line. You.
two poor teams, and I don't think any of them will come out on top.
you're going for
I think that's possibly optimistic thinking from a Celtic point of view with their away record in Europe, but I think they would be happy with a point, and I think Feyenoord would probably not be too bothered with a point either, with how
Yeah,
the
I mean,
recent runs been.
I'm just going based off Martin and Neil said yesterday that Feyenoord could have been 4-0 up in the first 20 minutes at the weekend. And I'm just thinking if Celtic let Feyenoord have the ball and I think if Feyenoord score early, it could be a very, very long night for Celtic, to be honest with you.
Robbie, bring us
Right,
back.
I can't believe I'm the most optimistic one out of the two Celtic fans that are here tonight. I'm going 1-0 Celtic.
Yes. Okay. You can come back anytime, Robbie. Yeah. Okay. I will go 2-1 Celtic. And that's the last thing.
Michael's just been too positive.
That's the last thing you'll see Mr. Stevens on the show as well. What about the game at 8 o'clock between?
Michael, what happens if the score's 4-1? The final, they get a.
We need to apologise.
Then we get a lot of the numbers.
Yeah, I think I'll make the guys humble pie and we'll eat that and stuff like that. But yeah. What about the game I was between Rangers and Braga, Robbie?
3-1 Rangers.
3-1 Rangers. Ethan?
I want to say a Rangers win, but I'm not too confident in it. I can't sit, but I don't want to say a Braga win. I can't sit on the fence again, can I?
Oh, come on.
It's cold outside.
It's cold outside. You don't sit in the fence, it's freezing there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, okay, my actual prediction's 1-1, but I'll say 2-1 Rangers. So I'm not sitting on the fence.
I'll go 1-0 to Braga.
Oh, man.
I will go maybe the opposite way this time from Ethan. I will go 2-1 Braga.
Oh no. We're not having a good night, are we? Hopefully they surprise us.
But is this show going out live? Yeah, okay. What about my favourite team, Aberdeen, against Noah and the Whale, Ethan?
I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to the Dons.
2-0, Robbie?
5-0 win for Aberdeen.
I'm going to be ultra positive. I'm going to go 4-0 Aberdeen. 4-0 Aberdeen. Come on, Aberdeen.
I thought you were going to say I'm going to be Reagan. Yeah. I thought you were going to say I'm going to be ultra positive. 2-1 Noah.
Yeah. 4-0. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll go for just to keep Paul Donaldson happy. 3-0 Noah. No, 3-0 Aberdeen. So there you go. And we'll be back at 10 o'clock to talk about every time we do the show, guys. We always come down here, get depressed and downbeat about Scottish football, but hopefully we'll be back on at 10 o'clock with a positive vibe to Scottish football. Somebody just shouted at me and out the window. Aye, right, Michael. But we are And this is the Scottish Football Zone, and you can subscribe to the channel. See if I dig that. It's brilliant. Who writes these lines for me? I don't know. You can subscribe to the channel. It's the Scottish Football Zone, and you can listen to us as a podcast on Noah FM. Just download the Spotify channel, and you can see us in. And also on TikTok, or maybe sometimes I like to call it TikTok, but on that as well. So you can find us on there. So thanks to Robbie, Ethan, and the young man called Robbie. Robbie is it's his birthday at the weekend, and they told me that it's going to be 20 hours. I nearly fell in my chair because I'm getting that old. But anyway, we'll see you at 10 o'clock.
Following our clubs in Europe on a Scottish Football Zone special.